Some do. The ones that I've talked to, we all felt that the apology was honest, was direct, addressed the issues, however lightly, they didn't delve into that. But they did say that there was that kind of abuse, and they did say they were wrong, and they all said that they were wrong, that the policies that they used to destroy us were wrong, because the intent of the residential school was to kill us, to kill the Indian in us. And they did that. So if you look at myself, after spending 12 years in a residential school, they killed my language, they killed my religion, they killed my community, they killed my family in me. Depending on, for each person, depending on where they're at in their own healing, they'll take it different ways. Some will be very angry. I haven't met very many that were angry about the apology. Some will dismiss the apology as if it were of no consequence. But for me, the apology, and those I've talked to, and I've talked to 4 or 5 really good friends, and I said, what did it mean to you? And we admitted that we said that it was honest and forthright, and it was good. And puts for me lots of closure, because when you're torn from your family, there's lots of bitterness and lots of hatred. And you carry that all your life, that bitterness and hatred, unless you deal with it. And that's what I mean, depending on who you are and where you are on that journey of healing. Because when they do that to a child, that child has to heal from that, what was done to them. I've heard, just once in a while, I've heard really good things about some of the other residential schools. I heard that they've saved kids' lives, that they took them from homes of poverty, that they were treated well, that they could speak their languages. So, there are different levels of abuse in these schools, and some treated children really well. You get 50 kids to 1 keeper. Or 2 keepers. That's a tremendous responsibility and stress on those 2 keepers. Because even now, like in your family, how many kids did you have? Like I grew up and I had 5 kids in my family. There was lots of stress with just 5. But ours, with the nuns there that had no training, no childcare training, very little education, they were just brutal. But given their own skills, they couldn't have been anything else but the way they were. They weren't trained to look after children. And they also came into these institutions with their racism intact. Like we were taught by French nuns. So they had those French nuns, probably picked from farms and communities in Quebec, taken from their homes and placed in this institution that was as hard on them as it was on us. then their racism could just grow. So we were called all kinds of names. Like we were dirty Indian pigs, we were filthy. We had 2 characteristics, we were drunkards and thieves. So we saw the dark side of our culture. We were poor, make no mistake. And so we were taken from this home, but even in our poverty, there was lots of happiness and lots of love, and we knew who we were, and we knew people cared for us. To be placed in an institution without any love or kindness was just absolutely incredible. So they punished us when we spoke Cree. They punished us when we misbehaved in any minor way. Like people who wet the bed would have to stand in front of the whole dormitory of boys and put the wet sheets over their head, and we would walk by them. So anybody that did that, when they gave people's lickings. Like one time we were taken over to the girls' side to see this girl whose head was going to be shaved, and her crime, and the whole school came to this to watch this. All the boys, all the girls, to watch this one get her hair cut, you know, shaved or got a brush cut. And they just took her hair and they cut her. And they were beating her. And we had to watch all of this. And her crime was that the nuns were hitting her little sister. She got up and she punched the nun in the face that was hitting her sister.
No matter how much you read, like what you do, is there any way they can understand what you went through and others went through?
The only way they would ever understand that is if they were, I was thinking about that, is if they were having supper. Let's say a family was having supper, had 3 children, and the police came in and took those children.
That's the only way you can get the experience, I guess.
Yeah. Then you would understand the first day of your life. Then never to have contact with your children after they left, not to know whether they lived or they died, how they lived and how they died, nothing. That's on the parents' part.